We're blasting a satellite into space. Maybe not today, or tomorrow, or this week, but we'll get there, right? Hello, and welcome to our first video review for this week's chapter of Dr. Stone, chapter 215. Normally, we do our reviews over on our blog, Board the Perseus. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But we wanted to try something a little more fun this time. So let's jump into it. Baby Senku talks about things that interfere with a telescope when you're looking from Earth. The weather interference is a bit obvious, but let's talk about how the Earth's atmosphere interferes with telescope images. Here you can see what kind of wavelengths the atmosphere can reflect completely or only let some of them through. So our atmosphere completely blocks out X-rays and most of the infrared. And researchers do like to use infrared and X-rays to learn more about our universe. So in order to see those wavelengths, we have to send out a satellite out of the atmosphere. What happens if you try to pick up those wavelengths from Earth? They get reflected or blurred or absorbed, bouncing around in the atmosphere, or even blocked by water vapor. So we have observatories on tall, dry mountains, but they're still quite limited to what they can pick up. These are some famous ones in Hawaii. For the average person wanting to stargaze, light pollution is what makes it difficult for most people. Light bouncing around in the atmosphere from city lights. So that's why here Senku is camping away from the city. You know, Senku looking through his telescope in the middle of Tokyo out his window. There's going to be a lot of light pollution coming in that telescope, making it difficult for him to see much. His telescope from Ishigami Village doesn't have to deal with light pollution, but it's a bit amateur made, so it's got other issues. So if you want to go stargazing and you live in a big city, probably want to go at least 20 miles away from any city that has more than 1,000 people. So they're trying to get some images of the moon to figure out where Wyman is. So I thought we could talk about the first time that we got some satellite images of the moon. This was in 1964. This is from the Ranger 7 in 1964. It wasn't actually a satellite because it didn't orbit. It just kind of took some pictures and then crashed into the moon. But this is one of the first images we got of the moon. And something that worries me a little bit about what kind of picture or what kind of information they're going to get from their satellite. Like this crater, it says is more than 100 kilometers diameter. So it makes me wonder how big would Wyman's base be, or whatever they end up seeing there. It could actually be seen. I can't imagine it would be too big, but if their pictures are like this, it's still just going to look like a tiny little speck. But we'll see. And by the way, the purpose of these pictures, one of the reasons they did was to select a landing site for the Apollo missions. So similar intentions here. So the satellites, one of the satellites they have in orbit around Earth is the Hubble telescope, which, by the way, is getting a new replacement soon. Replaced by the James Webb Space Telescope, which is launching this year in less than 2 months. So mark your calendars, December 18th. So here they explain how satellites move. They're basically always falling. This is a concept that has never really clicked for me. But basically, throw a ball and it hits the ground and gravity pulls it to the ground. But let's say you take away the ground where it's going to fall and it's just going to keep falling, right? I guess it's that kind of thing continuously. That's my best understanding. But the energy to move, it comes from when it was launched in the rocket, and then there's booster engines and of course gravity. You can see a few satellites moving across the sky if you patiently watch the night sky. You can even see the ISS in detail with binoculars. So they start talking about how they're going to start using solar power from Mr. Sun. You know, all these references to Mr. Sun makes me think of a song I used to sing with the kids. And it always put a smile on everyone's face.
Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, hiding behind that tree.
All right, so let's talk about some other ways that they have been using the sun in the story. There's quite a few. First of all, drying fish. Our first GPS. Figuring out what time it is with a sundial. And using calcite to find out where the sun is. I have a block of calcite, by the way. If you want to see me try to use it, let me know. We'll have some fun with it. When the morning's UV rays made the tungsten light up. And of course, starting a fire. Everyone loves using a magnifier. So let's talk about solar panels. So they're talking about making a solar panel, and we see how Senku made his solar panel here. This is our latest form of energy, and we have covered all of the other forms of energy in one of our science posts on our blog. Just gonna plug that here. Very nice post about energy in the stone world of all types. Anyway, so how does Senku's solar panel work? We have a metal plate at the bottom. It is covered in a thin layer of selenium, and then a really thin layer of gold and glass, and then this anti-reflective coating made from magnesium fluoride. But the solar panel itself seems to be based on one that was made in the 1880s by Charles Fritz. And he's right that it's very inefficient. It captures only about 1% of solar power compared to modern solar panels, which capture about 15 to 20%. And by the way, that magnesium fluoride coating, interesting fact is that the thickness is very carefully calculated in order for it to be effective, because it like physically disrupts the light wavelengths. So what about solar panels now? They're made of silicon. Made of pure silicon, like so. Could they have used silicon in Dr. Stone? It can be extracted from quartz, which is silicon dioxide, but they would need an electric arc furnace to be able to extract it in its pure form. So if that is something they're capable of, then I would say yes, they could have had silicon. So solar panel technology today has advanced quite a lot. It is the fastest growing energy source, becoming more and more efficient, more and more cost efficient. And they have many creative innovations that they've come up with using solar to power things, like fabric that has solar panels in it, and also solar panel windows and cars powered by solar panel. I mean, those are still in the works, but it's definitely in the future. So very exciting to see where solar panels are going to go. So we have all the rocket pieces coming together at Treasure Island. Treasure Island has the launch site. Senku is bringing the rocket, of course. And Zeno is bringing his level 99 rocket engine. Everyone's coming in on boats. How many boats do they have now? So the rocket is on the Perseus. the new Perseus, excuse me. Zeno's boat, there in the corner you can kind of see. And recently we have had, let's see, here's Taiju going from South America to Corn City. It's the only time we've seen that boat so far. Here's Ukyo and Yo coming from Corn City to Australia. This one does look quite a lot like Zeno's boat, what we can see of Zeno's boat. But I would assume that that is a second one, identical one. They didn't take it back. And then we have this thing. It went to southern Japan to get selenium. By the way, Senku's very first boat was the raft pulled by a drowning Taiju. So Senku is bringing his rocket on the Perseus, but how do they actually transport rockets on these things called crawlers? It is the biggest land vehicle in the world, and it goes a whopping 2 miles an hour unloaded. And here you can see them transporting the rocket. Of course, we got to have that American flag on top and on the front, because that's how we do. And man, these guys with that look in their eyes, they are ready to work on some rockets. They're looking quite sparkly. By the way, here's the level 1 rocket Zeno made with them before they left South America. And here's our roadmap from back then. Kind of shows us how that level 1 rocket's going to go to level 99. And apparently it took 3 years to do that. So our completed rocket, first thing I wonder is this rocket similar to an existing rocket? There are so many references to specifically the Saturn V rocket in this series, from chapter 1 all the way to recently in chapter 198. Lots of Saturn V references, and Zeno's engine looks like the same kind. However, our finished product doesn't really resemble it that much. Does it resemble any of the others? I'm not sure. So they start to get a little sentimental, and all this talk about how they have the perfect team to build a rocket almost seems like they're setting up for failure. Yes, the rocket fails. Can you imagine being the one responsible for that? I guess everyone's probably looking at Senku and Zeno. We see Ryusui and Soyuz diving together again, like they did in Treasure Island. So the repeated failed rocket launches are an obvious reference to Senku's trial and error with his home-built rocket. But really a lot of those were just clumsy mistakes, dropping chemicals. And here the last attempt that we see is it makes it up into space before it blows up. And that is also the last attempt we see here. It also blows up into space. There is this calendar panel that has gotten quite a lot of attention. It tripped people up a lot when the chapter came out, but Inagaki did come out and say that was a mistake. So that means we have no idea of how many years it's been. So here Zeno says there were incidents like this in 21st century. Some of those have been quite tragic, but some recent examples have been with SpaceX launches. They made a compilation of failures that they did. And if you want to see the whole thing, I'll link it in the description. But for now, I wanted to note that in their speech bubble, so that it blows up and they talk about what happened, and it blows up and they talk about what happened. And then there are these panels that have like a diagram in the speech bubble. I thought that was a pretty fun little detail. I thought that was kind of cute. Also, the appearance of the rocket seems to be changing from each attempt, so they must be going through a lot of changes to try to make it work. So they finally get it to at least launch successfully, even if it did not make it all the way. So I think I would expect next chapter to see a successful launch. So Yo's comment here about these two being unreal because they're going back to square one over and over again for years. So I wonder if maybe, do you know someone in your life who is like that? Who they've been through failure, but it doesn't stop them and they just keep on pushing, don't give up. I mean, really, that's kind of what this whole series means to me. One of the most inspiring things I get out of it is, you know, you always find a way, you just keep chugging, don't let it get you down. And so Yo is crying here after he says that. And I wonder why exactly he's crying. Like, is he inspired? Is he just exhausted? I wonder what's going through his head, really. He says, how many years has it been? And that's a good question. A lot of time has been skipped in this chapter, and we really don't know how long, since the calendar panel was an error. We're not really going to know until it's possibly fixed when the printed volume comes out, or hopefully sooner in a future chapter. But because years have passed and we don't know how many, it would have to be something like the Perseus, like they declared when it was finished, and when they arrived in India. For some reason, when they arrived in India, they decided to declare the exact date that happened. There's plenty of other events that we wish we could have gotten a date, but maybe we'll get one again in the future. Because I think now we're at a point where we really don't know what year it is. And no tracking of moon phases is going to tell us. And at the end, let me move out of the way here, we have Suika and Chrome working on their own. Since it has been a long time, they must have learned quite a lot from Sai by now. But it's been a long time, so I wonder if their secret has come out to anyone. Even if Senku knew, he's the type that if he knew about it, he would just, let them do their thing and just see how it goes. So, other thoughts? I wonder about the Medusa. Years have passed. So what about the research on that thing? They really built up a big operation for experimenting and keeping track of the Medusa. I hope we'll see what happened there. And then about Chrome and Suika's plan. I know I'm not alone when I wonder, just how feasible it really is for them to do this all by themselves. I mean, if Zeno and Senku can't get their rocket right, how is it going to go with these two? So prediction for next chapter, we'll probably have a successful rocket, which means the satellite will be put into orbit. We'll possibly see some video feed from the moon. I think I would expect a cliffhanger at that point, maybe their reaction to what they see on the video. As far as what they will find, what do you think? I really have no idea. Could it be like a whole colony? Could it be just one little machine or something underground? Could be nothing. And of course, I wonder what exactly they could even see on the video. Whatever it is, it would have to be pretty big for them to really see much of it. Next chapter, we might also see some advancement with Chrome and Suika's plan. Either their secret's discovered, or they make some progress. We haven't seen any of their work. The last few times we saw them together, it was just to show that they're working on it. So I would really like to see what it is they've come up with so far. And so beyond next chapter, after the rocket's complete, I think we won't really see much more inventions that are driving the plot, except for future tech, which I really hope is coming like in the final battle. I really want them to go beyond recreating modern inventions and go into future tech. Like with the stealth ship that kind of counts as future tech. And, you know, Medusa won't be the only future tech in the story. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about Y-Man, more about the petrification science and the Medusa, how it works, or anything more about it, and hopefully more character-driven moments. The main questions I have for you, I would love to see in the comments, what do you think they're going to find on the moon? And what do you think is going to happen with Chrome and Suika's plan? I would love to see other people's perspectives on those, because I really have no idea how that's going to go. So that's our review. Hope you enjoyed. Try to keep them coming. Let me know what you think. And there's other Dr. Stone videos coming too, so make sure you subscribe, check out the blog, and I'll see you next time. Bye.